Sign the papers, Jae-hyun. Matilda's voice cut through the dawn's silence like a blade, her hand slamming down on the mahogany dining table, so hard the divorce documents jumped. Lee Jae-hyun froze in the doorway of their penthouse, his designer suit wrinkled, his cologne mixed with the unmistakable scent of another woman's perfume. He'd expected his wife to be asleep. He'd gotten comfortable with her silence, her patience, her endless forgiveness. But the woman standing before him now was someone he didn't recognize. "Matilda, what are you?" he started, his voice hoarse from the champagne and lies. "Don't." She held up one hand. "Don't you dare act confused." Room 1504, Paradise Hotel. November 18th, 2:47 a.m. Her name is Jae-hyun. She's 26 years old. An influencer. Really, Jae-hyun? An influencer. Her voice dripped with contempt, each word precisely measured. Beside her sat Mr. Kim, a lawyer Jae-hyun recognized from corporate litigation, his briefcase open and documents spread across the table like evidence at a crime scene. Jae-hyun's face went pale. His mind raced through excuses, explanations, anything to make this go away. He'd built an empire on his ability to negotiate, to charm, to win. But looking at Matilda's face, stone cold and resolute, he realized this wasn't a negotiation. This was an execution. "How long have you known?" he whispered. "Long enough." Matilda reached into a manila folder and pulled out a stack of photographs. Each one was a knife to his chest. Him entering hotels with Jae-hyun. Intimate dinners at restaurants he'd claimed were business meetings. Text messages. Credit card statements for jewelry he'd never brought home. 6 months, Jae-hyun. You've been cheating on me for 6 months, and I've known for 4 of them. 4 months. He stumbled forward, gripping the back of a chair. "Why didn't you say something?" Her laugh was bitter, sharp. "Because I needed time to prepare. You taught me that, remember? You always said never make a move until you've secured every advantage." She gestured to the lawyer. "So I secured mine." 10 years ago, Matilda had been a brilliant software engineer at a mid-tier tech firm in London, attending a conference where she'd met a passionate young Korean entrepreneur with fire in his eyes and dreams bigger than his empty bank account. Lee Jae-hyun had been everything she'd wanted. Ambitious, intelligent, charming. He'd swept her off her feet with promises of building something revolutionary together. They'd married within a year, and she'd followed him to Seoul, leaving behind her career, her family, her entire life. Those early years had been magic. Working side by side in a cramped apartment, coding until dawn, surviving on instant ramen and shared dreams. Matilda's algorithms had formed the foundation of TechVision's artificial intelligence platform. Her code was elegant, innovative, years ahead of the competition. When Jae-hyun had asked her to let him be the face of the company, to avoid complications with conservative Korean investors who might not trust a foreign woman, she'd agreed because she loved him, because she believed they were partners. TechVision went public 5 years ago. Overnight, Jae-hyun became a billionaire. Magazine covers, television interviews, invitations to exclusive clubs and political dinners. And gradually, inevitably, Matilda had been erased from the story. She became the CEO's wife instead of the co-founder. She traded her laptop for playdates and parent-teacher conferences for their daughter Sujin. The elite Korean wives never fully accepted her. Their smiles polite but cold. Their conversations switching to Korean when she approached, making sure she felt like an outsider. And Jae-hyun? He'd stopped seeing her entirely. She was furniture in their beautiful home, an obligation to check off his list. "I want full custody of Sujin," Matilda said now, her voice steady. "The penthouse, the villa in Jeju Island, and $100 million settlement." Jae-hyun actually laughed, the sound hysterical. $100 million? Are you insane?" "No." Matilda's smile was predatory. "I'm a co-founder of TechVision Korea. Or did you forget?" She slid another document across the table, this one yellowed with age. The ink faded but the signature's clear. 10 years ago, when we started this company in our apartment, I contributed my code, my expertise, and $50,000 of my savings. You made me sign this partnership agreement. 45% of Tech Vision belongs to me. The color drained from Jae-hyun's face. That's... You agreed to be a silent partner. I agreed because I loved you and trusted you. Matilda's voice cracked for the first time, genuine emotion bleeding through her armor. I believed you when you said it was temporary, that once the company was stable, you'd make my role public. But that never happened, did it? You got too comfortable being the sole genius, the self-made billionaire. You wrote me out of our story. Mr. Kim cleared his throat. My client has every legal right to liquidate her shares immediately. Given TechVision's current valuation at $14 billion, Mrs. Lee's 45% stake is worth approximately $6.3 billion. If she were to sell those shares on the open market, especially amid a scandal involving the CEO's infidelity, the stock price would collapse. The company would lose billions. Investor confidence would evaporate. Jae-hyun grabbed the edge of the table, his knuckles white. You wouldn't. That would destroy everything we built. Everything I built, Matilda corrected. And yes, I would, unless you agree to my terms. She leaned forward, her dark eyes boring into his. I'm keeping 20% of my shares as a long-term investment. I'll sell 25% back to the company at current valuation, which preserves stock price stability. The remaining $100 million is for 10 years of my life that you stole. 10 years of being invisible while you took credit for my work. 10 years of raising our daughter alone while you played celebrity CEO. 10 years of loyalty that you repaid with betrayal. Matilda, please. Jae-hyun's voice broke. We can fix this. Counseling, therapy, whatever you want. I made a mistake. I'll end things with Jae-hyun. I'll be better. You'll sign the papers. Her voice was ice. Because if you don't, I go public with everything. The affairs, plural by the way, Jae-hyun isn't your first. The creative accounting your CFO has been doing to inflate quarterly numbers. The intellectual property you stole from your former partner Minho before forcing him out of the company. The bribes to government officials for those telecommunications contracts. Should I continue? Jae-hyun staggered backward like she'd physically struck him. How do you know about all that? Because while you were busy building your ego, I was building my case. Matilda stood, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. You thought I was just a housewife, that I spent my days shopping and having lunch. But I was listening, Jae-hyun. At your business dinners that I attended as your silent, smiling accessory. I heard things. I remembered things. And I investigated. She turned back to face him, and for the first time he saw the depth of her rage, her pain, her absolute determination. This wasn't a woman having an emotional breakdown. This was a strategist executing a plan months in the making. You have until 9 a.m. to sign, Matilda said. Mr. Kim will witness it. After that, I'm taking Soo-jin to stay at the Shilla Hotel until we find our own place. You can have visitation rights, supervised at first, because honestly, Jae-hyun, you've barely been a father to her anyway. Don't bring Soo-jin into this, he said desperately. You brought her into this when you decided your pleasure was more important than your family. Matilda's voice softened just slightly, the pain finally showing through. She asked me last week why Daddy doesn't love us anymore. She's 6 years old, and she already knows you've checked out. So no, I'm not bringing her into this. You already did. The sound of small feet padding across the hardwood floor made them both freeze. Soo-jin appeared in the doorway, clutching her stuffed rabbit, her hair messy from sleep. Mommy? Why are you yelling? Matilda's expression transformed instantly, all the steel melting into warmth. She crossed the room and knelt down, pulling her daughter into a hug. I'm sorry, baby. Did we wake you? Daddy's home, Soo-jin said. But she didn't run to Jae-hyun like she used to. She stayed in her mother's arms, looking at her father with uncertain eyes. Hi, princess, Jae-hyun said, his voice strangled. You smell funny, Soo-jin said, her nose wrinkling, like the perfume lady at the department store. Matilda's jaw clenched. She stood, lifting Soo-jin into her arms. Let's get you back to bed, sweetheart. It's still early. Are you and Daddy fighting? Soo-jin asked, her voice small. Daddy and I are having a grown-up conversation, Matilda said carefully. Sometimes adults need to make difficult decisions. But no matter what happens, both Mommy and Daddy love you very, very much. Okay? Soo-jin nodded, but her next words shattered what was left of Jae-hyun's composure. Daddy's never home anyway. I'm used to it just being us. Matilda carried her daughter back to her bedroom, leaving Jae-hyun standing in the living room, those words echoing in his mind. When Matilda returned 15 minutes later, her eyes were red but dry. She'd cried all her tears weeks ago. Now there was only resolution. Sign the papers, Jae-hyun, she said quietly. Let's end this with whatever dignity we have left. He looked at the documents, at Mr. Kim's patient, professional face, at the woman he'd married and systematically destroyed. He thought about fighting, about using his lawyers and his money and his connections. But he knew Matilda wasn't bluffing. She had enough evidence to bury him, to destroy Tech Vision, to turn him from a celebrated CEO into a cautionary tale. With shaking hands, he picked up the pen and signed his name. Each signature felt like giving away a piece of himself, but he'd already given away the only thing that truly mattered: his family. It's done, Mr. Kim said, gathering the documents efficiently. Mrs. Lee, I'll file these with the court this morning. The settlement transfers should be completed within 48 hours. Matilda nodded. Thank you, Mr. Kim. The lawyer excused himself, leaving them alone in the approaching dawn. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything they'd once been and everything they'd never be again. I'm sorry, Jae-hyun finally said. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I am. I lost myself in the success, in the image. I forgot what actually mattered. Yes, you did, Matilda agreed. And now you'll have plenty of time to think about that. She picked up her handbag, her movements composed and final. I'll be back this afternoon to pack Soo-jin's things and some of mine. Please don't be here. I don't want to do this in front of her again. Where will you go? That's no longer your concern. She paused at the door, looking back one last time. You know what the saddest part is? I would have forgiven one mistake. If you'd come to me, confessed, shown genuine remorse, I would have tried. But this wasn't one mistake. This was a pattern. A choice you made over and over again. You didn't just cheat on me, Jae-hyun. You disrespected me. You erased me. You took everything I gave you and acted like it was all your own achievement. I never meant to make you feel that way. But you did. And intention doesn't erase impact. Matilda opened the door. Goodbye, Jae-hyun. I hope whatever you were searching for with Ji-hyun and the others was worth it. The door closed behind her with a quiet click that sounded like the end of the world. Jae-hyun stood alone in the penthouse they'd bought together, surrounded by luxury that suddenly felt meaningless. His phone buzzed. A text from Ji-hyun. Last night was amazing, Appa. When can I see you again? Face blowing a kiss. He stared at the message, at the woman who'd seemed so exciting just hours ago, and felt nothing but disgust. For her, but mostly for himself. He traded his marriage, his family, his integrity for what? A few nights of shallow validation from someone who didn't even know the real him? Another text came through, this one from his VP. Boss, check the news. We have a problem. With dread pooling in his stomach, Jae-hyun opened his news app. The top story made his blood run cold. TechVision CEO Lee Jae-hyun files for divorce. Insider trading allegations surface. Someone had leaked it already. The press was faster than he'd anticipated. His phone began ringing incessantly. Board members, investors, his PR team. The carefully constructed image he'd spent years building was cracking in real time. But the worst was yet to come. He didn't know it yet, but Ji-hyun had recorded everything from their night together. And she had plans far more destructive than simple blackmail. 2 weeks after signing the divorce papers, Jae-hyun's life had become a carefully managed disaster. The board had demanded his temporary resignation as CEO while they conducted an internal investigation into the allegations Matilda's lawyer had strategically leaked. His face was plastered across every business publication. The Golden Boy CEO brought low by scandal. Stock prices had dropped 8% before stabilizing. Investors were nervous. Employees were updating their resumes. He'd moved into a sterile hotel suite, unable to bear the penthouse filled with memories of what he'd destroyed. His supervised visits with Sujin were awkward, painful affairs where his daughter seemed more interested in her tablet than talking to him. She'd asked once when they could go home to mommy, and he'd had no answer. It was during one of these dark days that Jae-hyun called him. He'd been avoiding her messages, hoping she'd take the hint. But when his phone rang with her contact photo, a selfie she'd taken that night in the hotel, something in her tone made him answer. "We need to talk," she said, her voice lacking the breathy flirtation he remembered. This was businesslike, cold. "Meet me at the cafe near your office in an hour." "Jae-hyun, I can't see you anymore. My divorce, everything that's happening. I know about everything that's happening, Appa. That's why we need to talk. Trust me, you want to hear what I have to say." The cafe was upscale and discreet, the kind of place Seoul's elite conducted affairs and business deals they didn't want publicized. Jae-hyun sat in a corner booth, designer sunglasses perched on her head, her outfit carefully curated for maximum impact. She looked different somehow, harder. The sweet, giggly girl from the club had been replaced by someone calculating. "Thanks for coming," she said as he slid into the booth across from her, his baseball cap pulled low despite the indoor setting. "What do you want?" he asked, too tired for games. Jae-hyun smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She pulled out her phone and turned it toward him. On the screen was a video paused on an image that made his heart stop. It was them in the hotel room, the angle clearly showing his face. "You recorded us?" His voice came out strangled. "Insurance," she said simply. "You're a powerful man, Mr. Lee. I needed to protect myself." "Protect yourself from what? I never threatened you." "No, but men like you have a way of making women like me disappear when we become inconvenient." She sipped her iced Americano, completely calm. "Your wife certainly knew how to make you inconvenient. Divorce, scandal, stock prices dropping. Must be hard. Falling from grace so quickly. Get to the point." "The point is, I have this video, and copies before you think about trying to take my phone. It's explicit enough to be damaging but tasteful enough to be newsworthy rather than pornographic. Korean media would eat this up. Disgraced CEO caught on camera with influencer mistress. Your investors would flee. Your company would tank. Whatever credibility you're trying to rebuild would evaporate." Jae-hyun felt sick. "You're blackmailing me." "I'm protecting my interests," Jae-hyun corrected. "That night meant something to me, but it clearly meant nothing to you. You used me for an ego boost, and then your life exploded and suddenly I'm a problem to be avoided. That's not fair, is it? What do you want?" $5 million, she said calmly. "And a position at TechVision. VP of Brand Development. It's a real position. I have real qualifications. Journalism degree, marketing experience, 500,000 followers who trust my recommendations. I could actually be valuable to your company." "You're insane." "I'm practical." She leaned forward. "Think about it, Mr. Lee. 5 million is nothing to you. And having me inside the company means I'm invested in its success. Why would I release a video that damages a company I work for? It's mutually beneficial. It's extortion. It's business." Her smile widened. "You have 48 hours to decide. After that, I'm taking this to the media. Not for money, just for the fame. My follower count would explode. I'd become the victim, the young woman seduced and abandoned by a powerful CEO. Book deals, interview circuits, maybe even a Netflix documentary. The attention would be incredible." She stood, adjusting her designer bag. "I'll text you my bank account details. Tick-tock, Appa." Jae-hyun sat frozen as she walked away, her heels clicking on the marble floor. How had his life become this nightmare? He thought about calling the police, but what would he say? That he'd had an affair and now the woman was demanding money? The scandal alone would finish him. And she was right about the video. Korean society was conservative. Business partners were unforgiving. The board would force him out permanently. He pulled out his phone and called his lawyer. A different one this time. One who specialized in making problems disappear. "I need your help," he said when the lawyer answered. "I'm being blackmailed." The conversation was brief and brutal. The lawyer explained that fighting Jae-hyun would be messy, public, and likely unsuccessful. She'd covered her tracks too well. The video's existence was enough leverage, whether she released it or not. His reputation couldn't survive another scandal. The cleanest solution was to pay her and pray she stayed quiet. $5 million and a job, the lawyer said. Could be worse. Some mistresses ask for 10 times that. "She's not my mistress," Jae-hyun said weakly. "It was one night. Doesn't matter what you call it. Pay her or watch your life burn. Your choice." He paid. The money transferred at 2 a.m. 2 days later when he couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't think about anything except how spectacularly he'd destroyed his life. $5 million to keep a video private. $5 million because he'd been weak and stupid and selfish. But Jae-hyun wasn't satisfied with just money. She wanted the position, the legitimacy, the power. And a week later, when the TechVision board reluctantly agreed to bring Jae-hyun back as CEO after finding no evidence of the more serious allegations, Jae-hyun showed up for her first day of work. The office buzzed with gossip. Everyone knew who she was. Everyone had seen her Instagram posts, the carefully worded captions that hinted at a relationship with someone powerful. She played the victim beautifully. The young woman trying to build a career despite a complicated personal situation. If you're enjoying this story of betrayal and justice, hit that like button and subscribe for more dramatic stories. Drop a comment below. Do you think Matilda should forgive Jae-hyun? Or does he deserve everything coming to him? Jae-hyun watched from his office window as Jae-hyun charmed the marketing team, her laugh carrying across the open floor plan. She was good, he'd give her that. Professional, engaging, competent enough that people almost forgot the scandal. Almost. But the knowing glances, the whispered conversations that stopped when he walked by, the way employees avoided eye contact in elevators, it all reminded him that everyone knew. Everyone judged. His phone buzzed. Another message from Matilda's lawyer about custody arrangements. Another reminder that Soo-jin was growing up in a hotel suite with her mother while he played corporate games with his blackmailer. He'd become everything he'd once despised. Corrupt, compromised, weak. The board meeting that afternoon was torture. Quarterly numbers were down. Employee morale was tanking. 2 major clients had quietly moved their contracts to competitors, unwilling to be associated with scandal. The chairman, a stern man in his 70s who'd been one of TechVision's first investors, looked at Jae-hyun with barely concealed disappointment. "We need to discuss leadership stability," the chairman said. "The company requires a firm hand, someone the public trusts." "I'm working on rebuilding that trust," Jae-hyun said, hating how defensive he sounded. "Are you?" The chairman slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was Jae-hyun's latest Instagram post. A photo of the TechVision office with the caption "New Beginnings with Amazing People Briefcase Sparkles #, blessed #corporate life #new chapter." The comments were vicious. Hundreds of people calling out the obvious connection, accusing her of sleeping her way into a job, calling Jae-hyun a predator, a cheater, a disgrace. And she'd left it all up, hadn't deleted a single comment. She was feeding the narrative, keeping herself relevant. "This is the optics we're dealing with," the chairman continued. "Your personal choices have become the company's liability." "I'll handle it," Jae-hyun promised, though he had no idea how. But fate, or perhaps karma, had its own plans. Because that same week, Matilda did something nobody expected. She came back. The emergency board meeting was called for 8 a.m. on a Thursday. Jae-hyun arrived to find the conference room already full, tension thick in the air. And there, sitting at the head of the table in a position that should have been his, was Matilda. She wore a burgundy power suit, her natural hair styled in elegant locks, and she looked every inch the CEO she should have always been. "What is this?" Jae-hyun demanded. The chairman gestured to an empty seat. "Sit down, Mr. Lee. We have much to discuss." Matilda opened a leather portfolio, her movements calm and controlled. "Gentlemen, and Ms. Park." She nodded to the sole female board member. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. As you know, I own 20% of TechVision, making me one of the largest individual shareholders. I've been reviewing the company's performance over the past 3 months, and I'm deeply concerned. She pulled up a presentation on the screen. Charts, graphs, projections, all showing TechVision's decline. Stock price down 12%. Client retention down 15%. Employee satisfaction at an all-time low. 3 key engineers have left for competitors. Our AI division, which I originally built, hasn't released a significant update in 18 months. We're aware of the challenges, the chairman said carefully. Challenges? Matilda's voice sharpened. This company is bleeding because leadership is compromised. And I'm not just talking about the scandal, though that certainly hasn't helped. I'm talking about a fundamental lack of vision, innovation, and integrity. Jae-hyun felt every eye in the room turn to him. Matilda, if you have concerns, we can discuss them privately. No, she cut him off. This is a business matter, and it requires a business solution. I'm proposing a restructuring. The board should appoint me as co-CEO, effective immediately. I'll handle operations, product development, and company culture. Mr. Lee can retain his position managing investor relations and strategic partnerships, areas where his connections are still valuable. The room erupted. Board members talked over each other, some outraged, others intrigued. Jae-hyun sat frozen, blindsided. This was a coup, executed with the same precision she'd used to divorce him. You can't be serious, he finally managed. You've been out of the tech world for 6 years. Matilda smiled, and it was sharp as glass. Have I? While I was raising our daughter, I was also consulting, quietly under a different company name. I've been advising 3 startups that have gone on to successful Series B funding rounds. I've been attending conferences, publishing papers under a pseudonym, and staying at the cutting edge of AI development. I never stopped being an engineer, Jae-hyun. I just stopped letting you take credit for it. She pulled up another slide, this one showing testimonials from tech leaders, all praising someone named Dr. M. Osei for her brilliant contributions to machine learning. That's my maiden name, she explained to the board. I've built an entire second reputation while you all thought I was just a housewife. Ms. Park, the female board member, leaned forward with interest. Dr. Osei authored the paper on adaptive learning algorithms that won the Innovation Award last year? She did, Matilda confirmed. And I have plans to implement those algorithms into TechVision's next product line. But I can't do that as just a shareholder. I need operational authority. The chairman studied her for a long moment. And if we agree to this arrangement, you'll stay? You won't liquidate your shares. I'll stay. I'll even purchase additional shares to demonstrate my commitment. But I have conditions. First, a full audit of all executive decisions made in the past year. Second, restructuring of the leadership team based on merit and performance. And third, she looked directly at Jae-hyun. Complete transparency. No more secrets. No more scandals. No more liabilities that put this company at risk. This is insane, Jae-hyun said. You're using the board to punish me. I'm using the board to save a company I helped build, Matilda corrected. Your ego isn't my concern anymore. TechVision's survival is. The vote happened within an hour. 7-2 in favor of Matilda's proposal. Jae-hyun and 1 loyal board member were the only dissenting votes. By noon, press releases were being drafted. By evening, the business media was exploding with the news. TechVision appoints co-founder Matilda Lee as co-CEO in dramatic board shakeup. The story was irresistible. The wronged wife returning to save the company her ex-husband had nearly destroyed. The invisible woman stepping into the light. Stock prices jumped 6% on the announcement alone. Employees who'd been quietly job hunting suddenly reconsidered. The message was clear. TechVision was under new management. Matilda's first day as co-CEO, she arrived at 7 a.m. and didn't leave until midnight. She met with every department head, reviewed every project, and identified exactly where the company was hemorrhaging resources and talent. Her feedback was direct, intelligent, and impossible to dismiss. She wasn't playing executive, she was being one. It was during a late-night strategy session with the engineering team that she met Daniel Park. He'd been hired 6 months earlier as Chief Technology Officer, brought in from Silicon Valley with impressive credentials and a reputation for turning around struggling tech divisions. He was 40, Korean-American, with silver threading through his black hair and sharp, intelligent eyes behind stylish glasses. Dr. Osei? He'd approached her after the meeting, his voice carrying a hint of awe. I've read everything you've published. Your work on neural network optimization is brilliant. I had no idea you were connected to Tech Vision. Matilda smiled, genuinely pleased. Most people don't. I preferred to let the work speak for itself. Well, it speaks volumes. Daniel held up a tablet showing code architecture. I've been trying to debug this legacy system for weeks. It's elegant but complex. Now I know why. You built it. They spent the next 3 hours going through the codebase together, Matilda explaining decisions she'd made a decade ago, Daniel suggesting optimizations based on newer frameworks. It was the first real conversation about work she'd had in years, the first time someone saw her as an engineer first and everything else second. You should have been running this company from the start, Daniel said as they finally packed up around 2 a.m. Better late than never, Matilda replied. Over the following weeks, they worked closely together. Daniel's division was critical to Matilda's turnaround plan, and his technical expertise complemented her theoretical knowledge perfectly. Coffee meetings became working lunches, became brainstorming sessions that stretched into evening. They'd argue about algorithm efficiency and laugh about bad code comments and share stories about their worst tech disasters. Jae-hyun watched it all from his increasingly marginalized position. He'd been relegated to the executive wing's corner office, away from operations, away from the real work. His days were filled with investor calls and PR management, putting out fires rather than building anything new. And every time he walked past the engineering floor and saw Matilda and Daniel bent over a computer together, laughing at some inside joke, something twisted in his chest. They're just colleagues, his assistant said one day, noticing his stare. I know, Jae-hyun lied, but it was becoming more than that, and everyone could see it. The way Daniel brought Matilda her favorite tea without being asked. The way she smiled at his terrible puns. The easy comfort between them, built on mutual respect and shared passion for their work. It was everything Jae-hyun's marriage should have been and never was. Soo-jin met Daniel for the first time at a company family day event Matilda had organized to boost morale. She'd been nervous about it, introducing her daughter to someone who was becoming important to her. But Daniel had been natural and kind. So you're the famous Soo-jin, he'd said, kneeling down to her level. Your mom talks about you all the time. She says you're learning to code. Soo-jin had nodded shyly. Mommy's teaching me Python. Python? That's what I learned first too. Have you made any programs yet? I made a calculator. It can add and subtract. That's impressive. When I first learned, my calculator could only add. You're already better than me. He'd pulled a small package from his bag. I brought you something. I hope that's okay, he'd added, looking at Matilda for permission. Inside was a beginner's robotics kit. Soo-jin's eyes had lit up. Really? For me? If your mom says it's okay, I thought maybe we could build it together sometime. I'm not very good at instructions, so I'll probably need your help. Watching his daughter laugh with Daniel, watching her trust him so easily, Jae-hyun felt something break inside. He was standing 20 feet away, technically present at the family event, but he might as well have been invisible. Soo-jin had barely acknowledged him all day. Daddy! She'd finally run over, Daniel's gift clutched in her hands. Look what Uncle Daniel gave me. Uncle Daniel. Already she'd claimed him. Adopted him into her world in a way that took Jae-hyun years to achieve and seconds to destroy. That's nice, princess, he'd managed. Can Uncle Daniel come to my birthday party next month? Please. Jae-hyun had looked at Matilda, who'd walked over with Daniel beside her. The three of them together looked like a family. Natural, right? And he was the outsider. We'll see, baby, Matilda had said diplomatically. Uncle Daniel is very busy. I'd love to come, Daniel had said immediately, then caught himself. I mean, if that's appropriate. I don't want to overstep. "You're not," Matilda had assured him, and the look they'd exchanged made Jae-hyun want to disappear. Meanwhile, Jae-hyun was becoming a different kind of problem. She'd grown comfortable in her position at TechVision. Too comfortable. She'd started treating her job like a stepping stone rather than a destination, using company resources for personal projects, leveraging the TechVision name to build her influencer brand. And worse, she'd started making demands. "I need a bigger office," she'd told Jae-hyun during one of their increasingly hostile interactions. "And a team. I can't execute my vision with just an assistant." "Your vision?" he'd repeated. "You're the VP of brand development, not a content creator." "I'm both. That's what you're paying for. Remember?" The threat was implicit. "Remember what I have on you." But Jae-hyun had made a critical miscalculation. She'd assumed the video gave her permanent leverage. She hadn't counted on Matilda's return fundamentally changing the company's power structure. And she definitely hadn't counted on Matilda conducting that full audit she'd demanded. The summons came on a Wednesday afternoon. Jae-hyun was called to the co-CEO's office, Matilda's office, for a performance review. She'd gone confidently, assuming this was routine. But waiting in the office wasn't just Matilda. It was Matilda, the head of HR, the company's legal counsel, and a very uncomfortable-looking Jae-hyun. "Ms. Park," Matilda said formally, "please sit down." The folder Matilda opened was thick with documentation. Expense reports showing personal purchases charged to the company. Emails proving Jae-hyun had been shopping a book deal about her relationship with Jae-hyun while under TechVision's employment. Screenshots of Instagram posts that violated her NDA by hinting at confidential company information. And finally, evidence of the blackmail itself, the payment records, the video's existence, everything. "You've been conducting an unauthorized side business using company resources," Matilda stated. "You've violated your NDA multiple times. And most seriously, you've been extorting the former CEO, creating a hostile work environment and exposing this company to legal liability." Jae-hyun's confidence cracked. "You can't prove any of that." "I can prove all of it." Matilda slid the documentation across the desk. "Mr. Lee has provided full cooperation with this investigation, including the transfer records and your threatening communications. You're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you out." "You can't fire me." Jae-hyun's voice rose. "I have the video. I'll release it." "No, you won't." The legal counsel spoke up. "Because doing so would constitute revenge porn under Korean law, criminal harassment, and breach of the settlement agreement you're about to sign. You'll delete all copies of any recordings involving Mr. Lee. You'll sign an NDA with significant financial penalties for violation, and in exchange, we won't press criminal charges for extortion." "This is insane." "Jae-hyun, tell them." But Jae-hyun just looked tired. "Sign it, Jae-hyun. It's over." The realization hit her then. She'd played her hand too obviously, gotten too greedy. The video had been her trump card, but she'd wasted it on small wins, and now someone smarter had called her bluff. "You'll regret this," she hissed at Matilda. "Both of you." "Unlikely," Matilda replied. "Security is waiting outside." But Jae-hyun had one more move, one desperate play for relevance. As security escorted her out, she pulled out her phone and went live on Instagram. Her 500,000 followers tuned in to watch her tearful exit, her accusations of unfair treatment, her veiled threats about powerful men and the women they used and discarded. "I'm being silenced," she said to the camera, security trying unsuccessfully to stop her. "I'm being punished for speaking my truth. But you all need to know what really happened at TechVision. The affair, the blackmail, everything. They're trying to bury me, but I won't stay buried." The video went viral within hours. Korean media picked it up. International tech blogs ran with it. TechVision scandal deepens. Influencer claims retaliation after affair with CEO. The stock price dipped 3%. The board called an emergency meeting. And Jae-hyun's carefully reconstructed reputation exploded all over again. Want to see how this story ends? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for part 2. Comment below. Team Matilda or Team Jae-hyun? Let us know. This is a disaster, the chairman said during the emergency session. We're back where we started. Worse, actually. No, Matilda said calmly. This is an opportunity. She pulled up Jae-hyun's Instagram live video, the one that had caused all the chaos. She made several provably false statements in this video. She claimed she was fired without cause. We have documentation of policy violations. She implied the relationship was ongoing. Mr. Lee's divorce was finalized 4 months ago, and the affair ended before that. She threatened to release confidential information, which violates her NDA. So we sue her? Ms. Park asked. We do better than that. We tell the truth. Matilda pulled up a prepared statement. I'm calling a press conference. I'm going public with my role in founding TechVision, with my return as co-CEO, and with a clear timeline of events. We control the narrative instead of letting social media control it for us. That's risky, the chairman warned. Everything is risky right now, but transparency is our best weapon. She looked at Jae-hyun. I need you to stand with me on this. Acknowledge your mistakes publicly. Take responsibility. Show actual remorse instead of PR spin. You want me to humiliate myself on camera? He asked bitterly. I want you to act like a man instead of a coward for once. Her voice was sharp. You created this mess. Help me clean it up, or get out of the way. The press conference was scheduled for the next day. It was carried live on every major Korean news channel and streamed internationally. Matilda sat at the center of the table, poised and professional. Jae-hyun sat beside her, looking like he'd aged 5 years in 5 months. Matilda spoke first, her voice steady and clear. Thank you all for coming. I'm Matilda Lee, co-CEO and co-founder of TechVision Korea. Many of you may not know that title because for the past 10 years, I chose to work behind the scenes. That was my choice, and I don't regret the time I spent raising my daughter and supporting my family. But recent events have made it clear that transparency and accountability are essential to this company's future. She laid out the facts methodically. Her role in founding TechVision, her decision to step back, the breakdown of her marriage, the divorce, Jae-hyun's hiring and subsequent firing for cause. Everything documented, everything provable. Mr. Lee made serious personal mistakes that affected his judgment and the company's stability, she continued. But extortion and manipulation aren't acceptable responses to those mistakes. Ms. Park violated company policy, legal agreements, and basic professional standards. Her termination was justified and necessary. Then she did something unexpected. She talked about her own journey, her experience as a foreign woman in Korean tech, the racism and isolation she'd faced, the difficulty of maintaining her identity while supporting her husband's success. I'm telling you this not for sympathy, but for context. Many women, especially women of color in male-dominated industries, make sacrifices that go unrecognized. We build things that others take credit for. We stay silent when we should speak up. And sometimes, we reach a breaking point where we remember our worth. The reporters were riveted. This wasn't a corporate scandal anymore. This was a human story. Jae-hyun spoke next, and his contrition seemed genuine because it was, I failed my family and my company. I let success corrupt my values. I hurt people who trusted me, especially my ex-wife, who deserved so much better. I'm not asking for forgiveness or sympathy. I'm just acknowledging the truth. My personal failures created this situation, and I take full responsibility for that. The questions came hard and fast. About the affair. About Jae-hyun's allegations. About the company's future. Matilda handled them all with grace and precision. Never defensive, always factual. One reporter asked the question everyone was thinking. Ms. Lee, why did you come back? You'd already divorced him, already secured your settlement. Why return to a company that didn't publicly acknowledge your contributions? Matilda smiled. Because it's mine. I built it, and I'm not going to let anyone else destroy what I created. Not even my ex-husband. TechVision isn't just a company. It's my legacy, my daughter's inheritance, and the livelihood of hundreds of employees who deserve better than this circus. So I came back to fix it. The response was overwhelming. Social media exploded, but this time in Matilda's favor. Women praised her strength. Tech leaders applauded her transparency. Investors breathed sighs of relief at the clear leadership. Within 24 hours, TechVision's stock had recovered all its losses and climbed an additional 4%. Jae-hyun's Instagram following plummeted as people realized she'd been manipulating the situation. Brands dropped their partnerships with her. Her attempt to write a tell-all book found no publishers willing to risk the legal battle. She'd played her cards too publicly, too desperately, and lost everything. As for Jae-hyun, the press conference was his lowest point, but also strangely liberating. For the first time in months, he'd told the complete truth. The weight of secrets and lies lifted, leaving him hollow but clear-headed. He started therapy. Real therapy, not PR-managed image rehabilitation. He worked on actually rebuilding a relationship with Soo-jin, showing up consistently for their scheduled visits, listening more than talking. He stepped back from daily operations at TechVision, focusing on his assigned role without trying to undermine Matilda's authority. It wasn't redemption. It was just basic decency, finally. 6 months later, TechVision was thriving under Matilda's leadership. The company had released 2 innovative products, both based on her algorithms. Employee satisfaction was at a 5-year high. Stock prices were breaking records. And Matilda had done it all while being an active, present mother to Soo-jin. The company's annual gala was held at a luxury hotel overlooking the Han River. Everyone who mattered in Korean tech was there. Matilda arrived in a stunning emerald gown, her locks styled elegantly, looking every inch the powerful CEO she'd always been meant to be. Daniel was her date. They'd been careful about going public with their relationship, mindful of optics and professionalism. But at this point, everyone knew. The way they looked at each other, the easy intimacy, the shared jokes, it was obvious and beautiful. Soo-jin was there too, in a matching emerald dress, holding Daniel's hand as they walked the red carpet. The photographers went crazy. The image was perfect. A blended family, success and happiness after betrayal and pain. Jae-hyun arrived alone. He'd been invited because he was still technically co-CEO, still on the board, still a public face of the company. But he was alone in every way that mattered. He watched from across the ballroom as Matilda gave the keynote speech, her voice confident and commanding. When I co-founded this company a decade ago, I dreamed of changing the world through technology. I lost sight of that dream for a while. Let others tell my story for me. But I've learned that your voice, your vision, your value, those things can never be taken from you. They can only be surrendered. And I'm done surrendering. The applause was thunderous. Daniel stood and clapped with genuine pride. Soo-jin cheered for her mommy. Even the board members, initially skeptical of Matilda's return, were converted believers now. After the speech, Jae-hyun found himself standing near Matilda at the bar. She was getting water, taking a brief break from the crowds. "You were incredible up there," he said quietly. "Thank you," she replied, polite but distant. "I see you and Daniel, and Soo-jin with him. They're happy." "They are. We are." Jae-hyun nodded, swallowing hard. "He's good for you. Good for her. Better than I ever was." Jae-hyun. "No, I need to say this. I spent so long thinking I was the genius, the visionary, the one who made TechVision possible. But it was always you. Your code, your ideas, your sacrifice. I took everything you gave me and treated it like it was mine by right. I didn't just cheat on you. I stole from you. Your credit, your recognition, your place in the story we built together." Matilda was quiet for a long moment. "I appreciate you saying that. I know I can never fix what I broke. Our marriage, our family, your trust. But I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. Not for you, because I don't deserve another chance with you, but for Soo-jin. And for myself." "That's good," Matilda said. "Soo-jin deserves a father she can be proud of. Keep working on that." Daniel approached then, carrying 2 glasses of wine. He nodded politely at Jae-hyun. "Evening." "Evening," Jae-hyun replied. To Matilda, he added, "I won't take up any more of your time. Congratulations on everything. You've earned all of this." He walked away, leaving them together. found a quiet corner where he could watch the celebration, watch his ex-wife laugh and dance and shine like she always should have. This was his punishment, he realized. Not public humiliation or financial loss or professional setbacks. It was knowing exactly what he'd lost, seeing it thrive without him, and having to watch from the outside. The gala ended late. Matilda, Daniel, and Sujin left together, a unit. Photographers captured them, and the images would be in every business publication the next day. TechVision's power couple, the headlines would read. Jae-hyun left alone, returned to his empty apartment, looked at photos of what he'd once had and destroyed through selfishness and arrogance. But there was no dramatic collapse, no rock-bottom redemption arc. Just the quiet, persistent weight of consequences. Just the daily work of being a better man than he'd been, not because it would win anyone back, but because it was simply the right thing to do. Matilda had moved on. She'd built her empire, found genuine love, reclaimed her story. She'd won not by destroying Jae-hyun, but by refusing to let his destruction define her. And Jae-hyun? He'd learned the hardest lesson of all. Some mistakes you never get to fix. Some damage is permanent. And the only thing you can do is accept it, learn from it, and try not to hurt anyone else the same way. The price of betrayal wasn't losing what you had. It was knowing you could never get it back. If the story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next dramatic tale. Like this video if you believe in second chances, or if you think some actions are unforgivable. And comment below. What would you do in Matilda's position? Should she have taken Jae-hyun back? Or was she right to move forward? Your thoughts matter to us. Thanks for watching, and remember, respect is earned, betrayal has consequences, and knowing your worth changes everything. See you in the next story.